disappointment as a Blues fan?
Well, being a Blues fan, we've had quite a few over the years, and it's hard to pinpoint just one. For me, I'd say a massive disappointment was not building on that Carling Cup win. I think seeing that team of absolute legends being dismantled in the way they were, every other day they were all leaving. So for me, in my 46 years of being around, it's got to be the breakup of that Carling Cup team. I think if we'd have kept that team together, and we had, don't forget we had Europe the next season, we could have gone on to achieve, who knows? We could have had another Wembley trip. So that's just one of many, and that's one that sort of sticks in my head from recent years.
Your earliest recollection of going to St Andrews?
Wow, my earliest recollection. Well, for me, I was born in Harborne. I moved to Coventry 2006. But mum and dad had two sets of twins, and me and Steve are the eldest. We're both 46. And I always remember my first trip, it would have been about 1981. The old main stand, dad taking me and Steve. And just being in that main stand, being at pitch level, seeing the players who were like giants. I remember we played Stoke, and I remember George Berry. I don't know if you remember him with his
George Berry, yeah, big hair.
Big hair. I remember seeing him. He stood out. Can't remember much about the actual game. I believe we won 2-0. And I'll always remember, I don't know why I remember this, but because we've always had a mad crowd at Blues, I just remember this one guy, big sort of meatloaf lookalike, with a beard by the main stand, just by the dugout. And he was singing, he had like a cowbell. And all I remember, he was going like, tinker, tinker, tinker. And I don't know why, but it's just stuck in my head. And that's my first memory of going down the Blues.
This question's in two parts.
Okay.
Your most memorable game ever and your most memorable game at St Andrews. It may be the same answer.
Well, most memorable game ever. I've been lucky enough to go to the Leyland Daft final, the 95, all the Cardiff ones, but it's got to be the Carling Cup. To see Blues win a major cup in our lifetime, we can all go to our graves happy. That's just a real standout moment. And even now, we've talked about it on Tilt and Talk, but it just sends shivers down his spine even now, and it probably always will. 50 years time, you'll never lose those goosebumps. And I think the most memorable game at Blues for me was that first Premier League meeting with the Villa, 2002, 3-0. That was just something else. The atmosphere was building from about 6 o'clock that night, I remember.
Yeah.
And that's just, again, one of many. I could have said West Ham in the Cup, but that Villa one really stands out.
Why Birmingham City? Is it a family thing or something else?
Yeah, it's family. My dad's always been a born and bred Blues fan. My uncles, my sort of relatives are all split because my mum's actually from Dudley, so that side of the family we've got some Wolves and some Albion. But yeah, my dad and all his brothers are all Blues. They're all born and bred in Ladywood before they moved to Sturchley. So yeah, it's been following my dad's footsteps. The only disappointment for my dad, he's had 4 sons, and I'm the only one who stayed loyal. The other 3 aren't Blues fans. But no, it's definitely my dad, so I've got him to thank.
Have you ever said, that's it, I'm done, I'm not doing it anymore?
Honestly, never. I've never ever said that I'm done with Blues. Even when we've been dire, even if we're playing over the local park or in a car park outside the George or wherever, I've never ever once said that, and I've never ever stopped. I've had a season ticket 26 years now, and I've never ever felt like giving it up, even through the relegations and all the rest of it. Hopefully, I'll always have one.
It's in your blood.
It's in my blood.
What makes you most proud of support about your team? What's the thing about your team that makes you most proud?
Most proud? I could be really corny and say it's just wearing that badge, on a match day or whatever. I think I'm really proud. I think in late years, as you get older, you're just proud of the sort of fellow people, the fellow fans you're actually in with. It's like one big family. Like we talk about in the Tilton Talk Show, it's just one big community of like-minded nutcases. um,
So true. Yeah.
I just love it, and you don't see it when you're younger. You just associate going to the football with just the game, and that's it. But when you
Yeah.
meet other people, and it brings you into contact with people you wouldn't normally, see people you don't see in the off season or whatever. It's just pure, just relief that you have been born to support Blues. I love it.
What would you say is the thing that most non-blues fans get wrong about our club?
I think a lot of non-Blues fans have a mentality that kind of we're stuck in the 80s and that we're still trouble wherever we go. We've got this real negative kind of influence to the outside. Whenever there's a bit of trouble at the Blues, the whole media, the whole country seems to jump on it straight away.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
condoning what there are some silly things we've done over the last few years, but it seems to be an absolute landslide of negativity towards us. And I'd like to change that if we could. Keep our passion, keep our identity, but we're good people. We're not these loons who people make us out to be.
Any favourite memorabilia that you keep, kept over the years?
Yeah, I've got. I mean, memorabilia wise, I've stopped buying the programs, but I've still obviously got all the cup final ones, the Cardiff ones, got my Wembley scarves, flags. I've kept everything from all those sort of days. But what I have got, which you know, what does mean a lot to me, I've got two things actually. 2009, I had open heart surgery, and it went a little bit wrong, so I was in surgery for 12, 13 hours. um, anyway, um, where I was working at the time, they got in touch with the Blues, and Kevin Phillips sent me a letter, to get well soon. And my brother actually, his girlfriend at the time was working at the hotel where I don't know if you remember Robin Shroot. He only made one game under Alex McLeish. We signed him from non-league,
Vaguely,
from
vaguely.
Wimbledon.
Right, okay, yeah.
Anyway, he played one cup game against Wolves in 2010. But anyway, my brother got chatting to him the one night because he went to pick his girlfriend up, and Shroot was sharing a flat when we had Sinclair, who's on there, Scott Sinclair at the time as well.
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah, I'll sort Mark out with a signed shirt," which he did. And when I sort of recovered, he passed on his contact details, and I actually messaged him as I was recovering, sort of thing.
Mhm.
And in the post after the game, when we beat Reading away to go up
Yeah,
on
yeah,
2-0,
yeah, yeah.
he sent me Colin Doyle's shirt and
Right.
Stuart Barnaby shorts. So this
Full
package
kit.
arrived with these two items in it, and it's quite funny. The Barnaby shorts ones are quite random, but yeah, I've got Doyle shirt from that game.
Who was or maybe still is your St Andrews idol?
It's one of my idols. Again, these questions, there's just so many.
They're
Um,
random, aren't they?
they're random, but they're just so hard to
Yeah.
answer. But
That's the final question, by the way.
okay, well, for me, I love Gary. I love the guys who won the Carling Cup. But there's one guy who stands out as sort of typifying us over the early 2000s, and that would be Jeff Horsfield. I absolutely
Yeah,
love the horse, and he just
yeah.
typified us. Everything about blues is typified by him. So yeah, it's got to be Big Jeff, number one fan.
Biggest disappointment as a blues fan?
Biggest disappointment has got to be Zola. The biggest disappointment is we're a big name from a big city and we should be better than what we are or what we were. And I think going back to the 1970s and late 60s when I started going, the enthusiasm from managers there, Stan Cullis and Freddie Goodwin and I know all those people, it was just a different atmosphere to what it is now. And I think it all comes from being run as a business. Football in general is being run as a business now and not as a sport, something to enjoy sports with. And that's where I feel. I wish in a way I was back in the 1960s and 70s and have that atmosphere where everybody was in it for the love of football.
And for the fun of it.
Yeah, and for the fun of it.
Your earliest recollection of going to St Andrews? Can you
Oh,
remember that far back?
wow. My earliest recommendation, I didn't go to St Andrews at first. I
Okay.
went to watch Birmingham City play at Blackpool because my mum and dad took us to Blackpool for the day. Dad being a big Blue supporter, took us there. We lost 2-0, I think it was. It was 1967, but we lost anyway. But Dad says, I'm going to the match. You can go and play on the beach with your mum. And I says, I don't want to play on the beach. I want to go to the football. And that was it. We lost, but I loved it. And the next week, he took me down to St Andrews, where we played Middlesbrough. And it was a home game at Middlesbrough. And we won them something like 6-0. I can't remember now. But we had a massive win over Middlesbrough. And the buzz of the ground, the buzz all around the ground, the atmosphere, the old tin toilets that absolutely stunk.
Yeah.
Things have improved down there, although we say it doesn't.
What would you say was your most memorable game ever?
Oh, no, I wish I could say it was our win at Wembley, but I can't because I never went. I never got there.
Oh.
But watching it on TV, it was.
Yeah.
I think there was one where we played Norwich City, and I think it was Ray Martin or Colin Green.
Ray Martin, I remember him, yeah.
And I remember at one time it was Norwich were quite a dirty team at that time, and they literally pulled. I'm not sure whether it was Ray Martin or is it Colin Green? I can't remember now. Yeah. Whether, but he literally had his shirt ripped off his back because of that. So it wasn't the actual football, but it was the actual bit of violence on the pitch, if you know what I mean.
Isn't it funny how something like that sticks in your mind and you remember that above a lot of things?
A lot of things. But my most memorable game, I think, has got to be Man United, when we played Man United, and to watch Georgie Best play on live, and Bobby Charlton, and it was just that was just cracking.
That would be around about 72.
72, is it?
Yeah, 72.
I've got
I do remember that.
Yeah, I've got lots of memorabilia here, and anyway, okay. That's I'm not. That's 56.
Why Birmingham City? Is it sort of like a family thing where you had to do it because your mum or your dad or they dragged you along?
Yeah. My dad was born in Small Heath. He always went down the Blues. I was born, would you believe, in Aston.
Really? Right. This ends the and I was conversation.
Born in Aston, where I used to go from there down the Blues. I just loved it. Listening to Harvey Andrews singing all good old Brummagem and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So it just. I've only ever been to Villa for any cup ties that's been held there.
Have you ever said, that's it, never again, I am done with Birmingham City?
No, but I have had a few years out of it when I became a mother.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I got young kids and I couldn't afford to go. And then I got a job, I was in sort of nursing, and so I was working a lot of weekends. So there was a lot of matches I have missed, but now I've retired and I try not to miss one.
What makes you most proud about Birmingham City Football Club?
I just think it's history. 1875 and coming from a cricket team from a church, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think being in an area in Birmingham that was sort of quite deprived, and although we probably wouldn't have thought that at the time when we were living around there, but looking back, it was an area that, and it was a place that you could meet everybody, and it literally like a church.
Yeah,
Yeah. And go
that's
and meet
right.
the congregation and meet the fans, and see the same people each week, and all our hearts are connected. All our hearts are connected. Do you know what I mean? It's deep in the soul. I can't explain.
It's just this is what I'm trying to find out.
It's deep in the
I'm
soul.
trying to get to that bit. Yeah. What would you say? A lot of football supporters outside of Birmingham and Birmingham City. What would you say is the one thing they get wrong about our club?
I think we're very underestimated. But I think sometimes with reason, because sometimes management haven't always got it right. And I think some people, some clubs, they just seem to fall on their feet, don't they?
Yeah.
I think Birmingham, and I swear that Gypsy's curse has got something to do with it.
Fry did a bad job on that, didn't he?
But I think other clubs around, I don't think they've got that love that we've got.
It's hard to pinpoint, isn't it?
It is.
It really is. Do you have any favourite memorabilia?
I have quite a lot. I've got an old scrapbook. I've just
okay.
Got an old scrapbook. Ooh. Oh.
Oh yeah, I can see it now. Yeah.
Right,
and
it's got old Freddie Pickering, and I've got a 1956 cartoony book. I've got
right.
And
oh crikey!
Yeah.
I can see
and my friend, who I used to go with sometimes, we've got our old season tickets.
Oh, what year are those from?
Those are 68 to 69.
68. That's probably when I started. Yeah.
And they're all tickets throughout the book.
Oh, that's marvellous.
So I've got a couple of them, and I've got. Where is it? I've got some old 1956 souvenirs from when we went into the. Where was it? 56.
56. A cup. Yeah, that was the 56 was the
and
FA
I am
Cup year, wasn't
almost
it? Yeah.
certain. Now I had it from my dad's house when my dad passed away, and I'm almost certain I've got a reel of film, and it's a big reel of film like that.
Oh right,
size.
Proper cine film, yeah.
It's bigger than cine though.
Ah, right.
I've got some of that, and I'm almost certain that's got the match on it. But I'm not dead sure, and I don't know how to find out. It's a lot of money to have it all. Yeah, and so that's.
Finally, who was or is your idol?
Oh, it's got to be Trevor Rocky.
Trevor Rocky?
Well, yeah, he was good looking, weren't he? And he got lovely muscly legs.
yeah, that beautiful black beard as well, didn't it? At one stage, black beard and he's yeah.
And I used to be in his fan club, and they used to meet in above Burton's on the Stratford Road, or was it Country Road? Stratford Road, above Burton's, the shop, and occasionally he turned up, and I just loved him. He was funny, comical. He was a good player, team player. And his music as well. He used to.
Didn't he? He did sing a song, didn't he? He had a good voice.
He had a song out, yeah. And I always remember, because I've recently did a little interview with Harvey Andrews, who sang Good Old Bromwich Up and That.
Yeah.
And he told me a tale of when he was playing on the town hall with his friend Roman. I think he's somebody, there was two of them playing on the town hall in Birmingham, and as a special guest they brought Trevor Rocky on. Well, he helped Trevor Rocky arrange all his music and bring that song out that Trevor Rocky did. And is it Only 'Cause We're Blue or something like that?
It is, yeah. It was, yeah. It's because we're blue.
Because we're blue, yeah.
Because we're blue.
Anyway, Harvey Andrews helped Trevor Rocky with that, and he says, and they was in the town hall having just a concert between themselves, and they brought him on as a special guest. Well, Trevor Rocky come walking on the stage with a guitar case, and Harvey thought, well, he can't play the guitar. Why has he got a guitar case? He can't play it. Anyway, he puts the case down on the stage, and he opens it, and he pulls out his blue scarf, and he's waving his blue scarf about there on the, you know.
Your biggest disappointment as a Blues fan?
I think it's got to be the way that fans can be one moment on top of everything, really happy, supporting, and then the minute that something goes wrong, it's as though the world's come to an end. People then just start turning on each other, and rather than supporting and helping, it makes it worse.
Your earliest recollection going to St Andrews?
I will never forget my first game. First game on my own, that is. It was Stoke at home when, unfortunately, there was trouble at the stadium. So I had petrified parents because there were not mobile phones about at the time to check on how I was.
Two questions here, more or less same but different, if you know what I mean. Most memorable game ever, and your most memorable game at St Andrews. They might be the same, but
well, I think most memorable ever it's a toss up between two. It's either Wembley final and winning the cup, or I was lucky enough to be out in Bruges. So to be there for not just a day, but 3 days with the Blues following that we had and the result, I guess really for me that's probably the main one. At St Andrews, it's actually the Worthington Cup semi-final against Ipswich.
The noisy one.
Noisy one. And the fact that the stand did move, it was bouncing, the atmosphere was amazing. We were the underdogs, but we pulled it out of the bag and made, fair to say, the Midlands completely proud at that point in time. And in fact, we should have won the cup at that point as well, bar a very silly refereeing decision.
I don't know if you can answer this, but why Birmingham City? Was it a family thing, or something else? I mean, usually it's my dad took me down and my family took me down, but what are your?
It is partly family. My granddad was a Birmingham fan. My dad's been a Birmingham fan as well. But actually, for me, I wasn't interested in a football team that was just out there because they were winning a few things. So, yes, I could have supported the Liverpools and the Man Uniteds. I could have turned to the team the other side of the city. But it was about what brought me to football was basically the camaraderie, the fact that it didn't matter how well or how poorly we were playing, the fans still backed them, the fans were still behind them. And I used to listen all the time on the radio before going to games. So picking up the atmosphere from those and hearing people like Tom Ross, Tony Butler doing the commentary really brought you in. And it didn't matter whether you were there or not, you felt like part of the family. And that's why it was Birmingham.
Have you ever said, that's it, never again, I am done?
Once. And in fact, it's the only time I've ever left the ground early. Liverpool, when we got absolutely mullered and we were just being turned over for fun. I left the ground early. I never, ever do that. And at that point, I was just like, that's it. I don't know whether I can come back. But after calming down, I obviously did.
What makes you the most proud? Is there a certain event that makes you most proud, or certain people that makes you so proud of your club? Is there a factor?
The fans. Yeah. It's, we are one family. It doesn't matter where you live. If you're a Blues fan, you're part of that one family. We all come together and help each other in times of need. We all help each other whenever things are against each other as well. And we very rarely as fans turn against each other. It's normally one for all for one. it's just that camaraderie, that built up side of things is what makes Birmingham and being a Birmingham fan special.
I guess I'm going to get probably the same answer to this question on a lot of these interviews. Is that what would you say is the main thing that other clubs, other fans get wrong about Birmingham City?
It's the fact that we had a reputation of old of being the thugs of football, and all we cared about was actually going to a game and having a fight. Sadly mistaken by a lot of the teams, because to understand the true passion that goes not just behind the way that was, the way the Zulus were, but the way we are now as a group, it is to be understood. It has to be understood by everybody. I actually feel that without that, we perhaps wouldn't be as renowned as what we are now. A little bit of that terrible times has helped us now to be known as a club, sometimes in the wrong way. Other times now you start hearing fans talking about, whoa, the passion, the away following that you guys get is amazing. I don't think we'd have had that if we hadn't have been in the situations of old. But also the fact that those people that were involved were part of the crew and the troublemaking at the time, turned themselves around and actually became known as people of the city. So Barrington Patterson is that classic example. Somebody who turned being that bad side of things into such fantastic work that he completed before his sad passing. That for me is what it's about.
Do you have any prized possessions, any favourite memorabilia of any sort? Keith?
I still have my programme from the my first ever game. My first ever game was the Leyland Daft Cup final at Wembley.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my programme, I have the ticket, and I'll never forget going to the club shop before the game and buying one of the flat caps. So I still have the Leyland Daft flat cap in my loft at the moment.
Me too. I've got that one as well. Yeah. Do you have an idol, a current idol, or an idol of past that you worshipped?
I liked the original early teams, so the Nigel Gleghorns of the day for me were the ones that stood out. Obviously, being at that first game, John Gale, everybody will say it, for me, still the best goal I've ever seen scored at Wembley. So he became a standout person at that point in time. When you look at recent, I still stick by Steve Bruce. He took us to the promised land with a very small amount of money being spent. And not only that, he kept us there. Okay. So, locally and recently it'd be him.
Okay. So what is your biggest disappointment being a Birmingham City fan?
I suppose the biggest disappointment is the constant loss of optimism. Whenever you do get something going, you get a good run going, like finally getting to the Premier League, and you think, oh, this is going to lead to investment and decades in the Premier League, and we'll be as big as we think we are. But then there's always something that pulls the plug, lets you down. But then you look back and think, well, that's part and parcel of being a Blues fan, really, isn't it?
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, part and parcel.
It's, we are a big club, and we have got a good fan base. And when it comes to away support, I don't think anyone comes anywhere near us.
Nothing touches it. Nothing touches it. No. Can you remember your earliest recollection of going to St Andrews?
Yes. Yeah. Very first game, we lost to Man City. We went 1-0 up through a Ricky Sbriglia penalty. and lost 4-1, but I was still hooked. You know, me, mum had let my uncles take me, because I had no way of getting there by myself. 3 older sisters who hadn't got any interest in football and stuff, so you know, no one would have gone with me otherwise. But you know, stood outside the Garrison pub while my uncles met up with their friends. You know, bag of crisps and a bottle of Coke as you know, waited outside for them. And then I can remember the walk up from the Garrison, you know, approaching the ground, you know, going through the turnstiles, walking up the embankment, you know, with actually a staircase, isn't it? But obviously, you know, the back of the cop, going over the brow, and then the smell of Bovril, smell of the toilets.
Yeah, they did linger.
Walking down and just like, you know, the sheer awe of what I'd walked into. And then when the noise kicked off with the singing, then obviously when we went that 1-0 up, the surge up and down the terrace, ending up 30 feet away from where you were, and then going back to the disappointment side of it, obviously walking away with a defeat. But I was hooked from that moment.
Can you? What would you say was your most memorable game?
Most memorable or favourite? I think
Yeah, I suppose you could say favourite, memorable. Yeah, straight.
Yeah. You've got to say, I suppose, it'll either be the first game back in the Prem against the Villa. You know, the September Monday night, the atmosphere, absolutely electric. You know, obviously before that you had the Ipswich semi-final when the ground first shook, so to speak. You know, you could feel the Tilton bouncing as everyone, like, you know, jumped up and down, and obviously little were we to know the sign that it was to come all these years later.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that Villa night, because yeah, the atmosphere at work, the build up, the banter, and then of course obviously to come away with a 3-0 win, yeah, just phenomenal. And I was actually the only one where I was working who got that week booked off work as holiday. But I still went in on the Tuesday with an air horn, burst through the door, blasting it, just to, like, obviously let the Villa fans know.
that first game, was that the game? Was that what got you hooked, or was it a particular family? I'll just start this one again. Hang on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Going back to that first game, was it that game that got you hooked, or was it a particular person, family member?
No, it was that game. Because as a child, you supported Birmingham because they were your local team. And one of my neighbours actually was a Birmingham fan. He was, like, obviously my best friend at childhood. But when Villa got to the 75 League Cup final, and we was walking back from infant school, and we just got to the top of the bridle path, and he says, I'm going to swap and support Aston Villa. And I says, well, why? And he says, I want to follow a team that wins things. And I says, well, okay, but obviously I ain't changing. And I think there was a bit of resentment because I went to my first game years before. I mean, obviously I was like 7 when I went to my first game, and like I said, my uncles had took me, but he didn't go to a game until he left school. So I think there was a bit of a resentment there that the council houseboy had gone to a game before a traditional family, without divorced parents and all that, had theoretically got the chance, or should have had more of an opportunity to go before him. But I mean, we still speak occasionally now, but I wouldn't change anything for the world. Like I say, it is their 82 European Cup success, which they still talk about.
Yeah.
I'd still rather have the highs and lows of being a Blues fan than. Yeah.
Have you ever said or thought, that's enough, I've had enough?
Yes. Yeah. Quite regularly during the Lee Clark days. Not not Lee Clark's fault, but of course, you're buying a season ticket and you go in and you're barely getting a home win. And some of the performances, were dire. And of course, obviously, it's going on and on. And of course, and then when years later, when a few years later, a couple of years later, after Rowett had gone and Zola came in, and bizarrely, the only time we went at home against Wolves, didn't we? But I missed that game, and then I missed the only other win under Zola. So of course, it was literally a years-long period again that I hadn't seen a home win. But obviously, work commitments meant I was unable to attend those two. But I think as much as you get frustrated, and we have this conversation while I'm down there at the Blues now, you can't help. Once it's in your blood, doesn't matter how much you think, oh, no, never again, not coming here. You can't help but do it.
You do it. You just do it. You just do it. You probably answered this question earlier regarding the fans, but what is it that makes you most proud of our club?
It is the fans' loyalty. Really, like I say, you can have all the stuff that we've had going on, and yet, like I say, you go to an away game, and the atmosphere they create is phenomenal. The atmosphere is obviously subdued at St Andrews at the moment because having the lower tiers closed off. I do think Blues need to do something when it's open though, because of COVID and the stadium lockdown, you've lost a few years of potential young support coming along. And of course, obviously, you need to get them young to entice them. But of course, obviously, when they're there, they need to be playing decent football and challenging for them to not switch allegiance then to either those up the road or Liverpool or Man U or whatever. Because similar to the neighbours thing in '75, they want to follow a club with success. For me, that's not what it's about. I'll take your Leyland Daff, your auto windscreens,
all day,
and your Carling Cup, because of what it means to you. You like I say, you'll take your 10 years of letdowns, upset, heartbreak for that one day. That comes around every so often.
Is there? Would you say there was one or more things that fans of other clubs get wrong about Birmingham City?
Well, yeah, I think obviously I was going to say about the hooligan aspect. Obviously, a lot of clubs,
that's come up quite a lot now.
Yeah. But then when you look back, and obviously it's only the other week, wasn't it? Like I said, Birmingham had the most arrests so far this season. There was, I think, top of the league last season as well, or second in the end. So,
not a great record to have, is it?
It kind of backfires if you're saying that, the hooligan element. But I think sometimes when you see comments on other posts, you'll have people saying by far the best supporters we've had at our ground, loudest, proudest, and for me that's from a genuine home supporter, not somebody who hates us because we beat them in a fourth round FA Cup tie or whatever, like for whatever reason. Because and that sparks a bit of resentment or whatever, because it's on their birthday or something, so they've always hated us since and stuff like that. But when you get genuine supporters, giving you praise, when we was at the serving at the Burnley game earlier this season, we had some Burnley supporters come to the van, and they were saying that they absolutely love playing Blues, love the supporters, love the club, and that again, like I say, gives you a nice warm feeling. So I don't think it's anyone that I'd go to an away ground and have ever not liked. You have your banter with some. You're always pleasant and polite, because I think it doesn't matter where you are, that obviously encourages it back. But obviously, apart from match days against the Villa, there's nobody that particular hold that kind of resentment that some people do for Blues.
Do you have a particular idol, somebody you idolised in the day and still do?
Although when I was little and before I went, and even though he played in my first game, obviously, because when you were little and Trevor Francis was the big name, and like I say, he did play in that first game I went to go to. So although he was the person you played as when you played your street football or whatever, I can't honestly say he was my first hero. I think my actual real first hero was Noel Blake, and then obviously since Blakey, I've had like Paul Tate and Martin Granger have been heroes, and obviously like Dugarry was when he came, because like you say, you never expected to find a World Cup winner.
No.
Down at St Andrews, like
even now you think, crikey, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Do you keep any memorabilia?
Yes. Yeah.
Anything? Any favourite?
I've got a few favourites. But I sponsored Paul Pesky-Salido's shirt in the season that Brady and Sullivan and the Golds took over. So luckily they did that horrible paint splash kit.
Wasn't that disgusting?
Yeah. But they brought in the one with the two stripes over the shoulders, and of course no replica kits were made. And there was only one home shirt and one away shirt made with numbers. So when you come to the presentation at the end of that season, you had that out, one singular shirt. So I've got Paul Pesky-Salido's shirt from that season, but also was Martin Thomas's shirt sponsor that season as well. So I've got the only goalkeeper shirt.
Oh, crikey!
From that season.
That's worth keeping.
Yeah. I've got one of Jude's shirts signed and a pair of his shorts signed. Got Liam Daish's shirt when he first came, and he was number 32. The yellow away Triton one with the blue stripes. What else? Of course. I got because when my son was born, and his two middle names are Tate and Granger, I wrote to both of them to let them know. And Tatey was at Oxford at that point, and he sent us his Oxford away shirt, which was white with blue trim and stuff, and he sent a fantastic note with it as well, which I obviously don't know. You probably have to bleep this bit, but he's obviously made reference to Villa fans. Derogatory term, and then he signed it off like your best wishes, keep right on and shit on the Villa.
I can bleep that out.
And but then I never heard from Martin Granger for the rest of the season, and then all of a sudden package comes, opens it up. I was gobsmacked when I read the letter, and then even more gobsmacked when I pulled the shirt out. And it was his Worthington Cup final shirt that he'd signed and dedicated to Lewis. So I've got Granger's Worthington Cup final shirt as well.
Top man. Oh,
Yeah.
that is something special.
Yeah, well, I've got them,
is.
both in a humongous frame.
Yeah.
It's ironic it was framed down by your work, the Alton Gallery.
Yeah, on gallery. Yeah.
So they did that for me, so I've got that done as well. So and then I've got
Fantastic.
special balls as well. So
Excellent. And that's it. We've done it. Well done.
No.
Well done. Well done. Is Belle still there?
Yeah, she's actually lying down in my lap there.
Oh right, okay. Because I just wanted to get a quick shot of her. I'll just take a quick photograph of her. It'll just look good on the. Oh God.
Are you looking, Papa? There you go. There's Chris. Where you going?
One more. I don't think I got.
Belle, turn this way. There you go. There you go.
That's it. I got it.
There'll be no introduction.
That's fantastic. Right, I'll just try it. Okay, here we go. Biggest disappointment as a Blues fan?
The biggest disappointment for me was actually not being at the final against Arsenal. So that's a personal disappointment for me. I wasn't able to get there. I wasn't able to secure a ticket, and missing what was probably the biggest single achievement in my lifetime as a Blues fan was a massive disappointment personally. I think as far as the club's concerned and disappointment on the field, I think some of those playoff losses, certainly against Preston, I remember being at St Andrews for the Barnsley game when I think we lost the first leg 4-0 or 4-1. It's typical Blues, isn't it? They raise your expectations. You stood there, the whistle goes, everything is possible. And 90 minutes later, the rug's just pulled away from you.
Typical Blues is a phrase that comes up so often, and it's so apt. Yeah. What's your earliest recollection of going to St Andrews?
Well, my first game was the last game of the season, 1979-80. We needed a point against Notts County at home to get promoted to the top flight. So great first match to go to. It was my birthday in and around that time. So my mum had written to the club and asked if I could meet some of the players beforehand. So I was taken past the massive crowds before the game, in through the gates, met Billy Wright, Colin Todd, Joe Gallagher, Jim Smith. Got some great photos from the day with my little brown flares on and my slip-on shoes and my blue scarf. And it was 3-3. We got the point we needed. Typically didn't do it in easy fashion and win straightforward 4-0. It was a end-to-end sort of game, and then all the fans running on the pitch at the end. It's just that excitement and that buzz, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now.
Yeah.
I
can say that the third question may overlap that. It's your most memorable game ever. So.
Yeah, I think that's definitely up there. But again, almost equaled, if not trumped by, what people might be dismissive about that first Wembley appearance that we had in the Leyland Daff. But just the emotion and walking up and into that stadium and seeing Blues fans, it didn't matter what the trophy was. The volume of fans that were there. So that again, that gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, rock hard like a baby. Yeah.
But I think the first match definitely. That's probably third, but second was very close, probably followed by the Liverpool game at Cardiff. I was so proud that we were competing on a level playing field with potentially the best club in the world, and we nearly did it. So there has been some great memories amongst the lots of disappointment.
Yeah. This is the question. Why Birmingham City? Is it a family thing, or is it something else?
Yeah, well, born and started my first sort of 10 years living in Birmingham. So Mum and Dad had been to the ground, and my nan had been to the ground. They were from South Yardley, Chelmsley Wood, Sheldon area. I moved to Weymouth when I was 11 years old. So after that first game that I went to, I didn't go again for almost 10 years until I was old enough to take myself back up there. So for me, the why is it's a link to my family. It's a link to my heritage. It's a link to my roots. You know, I live quite a way away. I'm nearly 200 miles away, but it's my link back to my heritage, to my roots, to my family and the city. And it still gives me that connection with that. And, you know, it means a lot to me, that still.
Have you ever said, that's it, I'm done, never again?
Yeah, on many occasions. Most often at about 4:55, 4:56, whenever that ref's blown the whistle. Most of that was because of where I lived and the effort I had to get in to just get to the games. So, you know, I traveled quite a way, quite at expense. And you think, God, is it really worth putting myself through this? And I've had short periods of time where I haven't gone, but I've never allowed myself to remove myself from it. It's too difficult a tie. It's too strong a link.
What's the thing that makes you most proud about your team, your club?
I think as a club, we're, you know, and I'm sure we're not unique in this, and other fans feel the same. But we are what we are. We don't pretend to be something that we're not. The fans, whether they be from the 80s, 90s, or now, they're still the same core values. I think our expectancy levels are not ridiculous. We just want to see the team put on an effort, put on a display that's befitting of the shirt. And I you know, I think generally we do that. And I'm proud of the fans and the fact the fans, whether there's 4,500 stood with me at the Mansfield game on a Tuesday night, which I was at, or whether there's 80,000 at Wembley, you know, the passion of those fans. And I think I'm just proud of us as a club, knowing who we are. We know what we are. We don't pretend to be anything different. I can appreciate that.
What would you say is the thing that you would say most clubs and fans get wrong about Birmingham City?
I really, really do not like the phrase sleeping giant. And people will say, oh yeah, Birmingham, they're a sleeping giant. We're not a sleeping giant. We've never really done anything to suggest that we would be a sleeping giant. Could we potentially be a big club? You know, being a second city club, and the potential investment could be there. But I think the perception we're a sleeping giant, it's old hat now. We've been in the championship currently longer than any other team. You know, we're a championship team. We've been down to the third division. You know, Sheffield Wednesday, Middlesbrough, Coventry, they could all classify themselves as sleeping giants. But when we're referred to as that, I think it just underestimates what we are. We know what we are.
Do you have any favourite memorabilia at all? Anything you've kept, you thought, I can't get rid of that?
I used to be a program addict. I stopped that a long time ago now. So I've got some great programs over the years. Pictures really with my favorite players. So it's not memorabilia from a particular event. I've got my tickets from the cup final, but my picture when I went to an evening with Trevor Francis, and a picture of him signing my shirt. Yeah, without a doubt, that's just different level.
That probably runs on to the last question, which is, who was or is your favourite idol?
It's easy to say the obvious. I mean, both my kids' middle names is Francis. I've got a daughter and a son, so I got away with that twice, different spellings. So that would tell you one thing. My registration on my car is TF04KRO. So again, the initials of Trevor Francis on there.
There's a clue there.
There's a clue there. So clearly that's obvious. For me though, I like players that put it in and show a bit of class at the same time. So always admired Mark Ward. Mark Ward is a real favourite of mine. I don't think we've ever had a midfielder that's quite matched him since then. He's absolutely class. And on a personal basis, because he was also manager of Weymouth, my local club, and played and managed and scored lots of goals for Blues, Steve Claridge is a big favourite of mine. He had that one season where he scored 20 odd goals and was just phenomenal.